Good afternoon, everyone. This is the City of Liberty Lake Parks and Arts Commission. Today is Monday, March 4th, and it's 4 p.m. My name is Nancy Hill. We'll start out with the roll call of the other commissioners. David Heimbach.
Present.
Is Laura Frank on Zoom?
No.
Okay, she may join us later, but it would be an excused absence if she doesn't get here. Tom Chamberlain. Is Tom on Zoom? Pardon me?
Allison Ingram and Chris Johnson are check.
And no Bob, okay. All right, Tom Chamberlain is probably not coming today, and that's also excused. John
Present.
Noel is absent today, she's ill. And Bob is not on Zoom yet,
No.
we're expecting him. Katie? Present. And then Joni's on Zoom, correct?
No.
No, okay. So I believe we still have a quorum because there's 4 of us here and.
So
Yeah, but
that
quorum.
means Katie will be able to vote in place of an absent commissioner.
Okay. And Allison is on Zoom, correct?
Yes.
All right. We, I guess we'll just call the meeting to order and we'll go through roll call. We did that. Let's look at our February 5th, 2024 minutes. Did everyone have a chance to look at those? They're in your packet. And let me know if there's any additions or corrections. And if not, a motion to approve.
I move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Show the motion passes unanimously. Moving on to citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments?
No.
No. Okay. Nothing online either. All right, no citizen comment. So we'll jump right into item 5, unfinished business. Allison, you were going to mention a little bit about your graffiti barrel.
Yes, that's correct. I finished it and I dropped it off a couple weeks ago, and the pictures are in the email that Jen sent us. If you guys want to look at it, I did it with my friend, and we basically like painted landmarks of like Spokane with like the clock tower, the river, and the wagon and the pavilion.
I want to say that I absolutely love your barrel. The art is fantastic. The colors are striking and it's going to look so cool in our parks this year. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Very nice.
All right.
And if, do you want to talk about the peeling barrels?
Yeah, we can. Jen, do you want to talk about that? Because we've had an issue come up with some of the barrels already in the park.
Yeah, so there are at least 2 barrels that are in pretty poor condition regarding peeling of the artwork paint. So the question is, do you want those steam cleaned and pressure washed and sent back to the high school for a new paint job for this year? We have already clear coated the Allison's barrel so that hopefully it'll hold up, the paint will hold up a lot longer than just 1 year. So I guess I would defer to the commission if they want us to clean them up and take them back to the school, coordinate with the school to have at least 2 or 3 more barrels repainted by somebody.
I mean, it's sad that we can't salvage that, but it's too far gone.
Yeah,
so.
and we have the photos to file away, and the paint isn't gonna last forever.
No,
It's gonna get nicked and scratched and it will eventually peel, but I think we could at least extend the length of time by clear coating. So we
Mhm.
will do that from now on, but
and your team will take care of that once they
Yeah.
receive the painted barrels. Okay. So what's the pleasure? Do you guys like the program and you want to continue using the high school students? I think they really had a good time with that. What are your thoughts?
I think it's great. I think it's great to use the students talents.
Might want to pull your microphone a little bit more in front of you. There you go.
I think it's great to use the students' talents that we have right here in Liberty Lake and have their artwork shown, and let's preserve it for as long as we can.
Well, that's great. Is everyone else feeling the same way? Allison?
Yes, I feel the same way too. I know the alt teacher in her class really enjoyed doing this project, and I enjoy doing this project too. So yeah.
Okay, great. Quick question, Jen. Would you be able to get the barrels cleaned up and to the school where they'd have time to do the art prior to the end of the school year?
Yeah, yeah, we could do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm all for it. Do we need a motion for that? Since we already have the program?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Well, let's make it happen.
Okay.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Allison.
Okay, moving into our discussion on the trailhead art wall. I received a correspondence from Council Member Cargill regarding some ideas he has. So he's graciously agreed to come in and share those with us as we go through the consideration process. And if it's not something we can use at Trailhead, it's thought for another day as we move forward. So, Councilman?
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I had heard Nancy's comments at the last city council meeting and had a discussion with a few folks a while ago, including the Spokane Valley Historical Museum, about the fact that there's nothing in our community or in the Spokane Valley or in the Newman Lake community that represents and recognizes the impact and the history of the community in terms of the people who have helped establish the community. And there are three people in general, well, actually four people that I'm referring to. One is Stephen Liberty, who our city is named after. The second is William Newman, who Newman Lake is named after. The third is Daniel Kershane, who the Saltese area is well known for. And then the fourth is Chief Saltese. So the four of them were all very, very good friends, actually. And even though there was a lot of obviously contention among the tribes and some of the settlers, that was not the case in our neck of the woods. In fact, the four of them worked hand in hand, and Stephen Liberty actually traveled back to DC several times with Chief Saltese to try to get certain things adopted in Congress back in the 1800s. So my idea to Nancy was in some way to celebrate the four of those men who helped establish our region and work together hand in hand to help establish not only the city of Liberty Lake, but also Newman Lake and Spokane Valley, and then of course Coeur d'Alene with Chief Saltese. I'm not sure if that is something that would be on a wall in Trailhead, or if it would be some busts somewhere or a sculpture or whatever. Obviously, that's up to all of you to determine what that might be. But I could definitely see an interest in the community. Of course, I would love to help contribute to something like that, and I'm sure others would as well. Just a little bit of a clarification and a caveat here. Part of the reason I brought this up is because I'm related to Stephen Liberty and related to Daniel Kershane, and so I would probably take myself out of any decision that you might make on that. But I do think it is appropriate to recognize those four people for all their contributions to our community, and glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, I think history is always important. We just have to figure out how to weave it into our community, so.
And the Spokane Valley Historical Museum has a lot of data on this. In fact, if you just type in those four names on Google, you will bring up a bunch of different articles and a bunch of different information specifically that comes from the Spokane Valley Historical Museum. And I think there are images of the four of them at the museum as well. So that would be really easy to do. And of course, now her name is slipping my mind, but she's the executive director of the Valley Historical Museum, and I've talked with her a little bit about this as well in the past. Starts with a J, and I'll
Starts
think
with a
about it
J.
as soon as I leave.
Any questions for Councilman Cargill regarding the concept or any information you need?
I personally think that's a great idea, because I didn't know there was a Stephen Liberty. I just assumed it was yeah, named after
Yep.
Liberty. Yeah, so that's something new to me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And what's funny, if you get into the history a little bit more, Stephen Liberty married the sister of the man that the woman that Daniel Kershane married. And so they were all connected in one way or another, very small community, obviously back then. But they all have connections.
When would someone like Mr. Liberty have been born, just for perspective?
I think it was the early 1800s.
Early 1800s.
Yeah,
okay.
because I'd have to double check my math, but it was the mid to late 1800s when they started arriving here.
Okay,
And like I said, William Newman was the one up north, and then Stephen Liberty was here, and Kershane was over towards Saltese, and then this was all part of the Coeur d'Alene tribal lands as well at that time, which is why Chief Saltese was involved.
they certainly made an impact. There's Liberty,
Yep.
Liberty Lake, Newman Lake,
Yep.
Saltese Flats.
Yep, for sure. And then, of course, there's lots of recognition in North Idaho for Chief Saltese with Saltese Way and a few other things. So,
Right, right. Kershane's must have got left out.
I know. For whatever reason, the Saltese wasn't named after the Kershane family for some reason.
All right, any other questions or thoughts? Laura?
Yeah, I was just going to comment that if this is a route we want to further pursue, Ross was here last month with some historical options. I know he does have some information on these gentlemen as well, because there is on the mural in Pavilion Park, Stephen Liberty is one of the writers and Chief Saltese is in one of the reliefs. So I know that he does have quite a bit of information and maybe photographs that could be of use. So I think between Ross and the director at the Spokane Valley Arts, I think there's probably a lot of great information out there that we can compile and take a look at.
Okay, that's good to know.
Looks like born in 1843.
1843. Chris?
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, if for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm the head golf professional at Trailhead. And I thank Jen for inviting me to the meetings about the art pieces that would go into Trailhead. So I just had kind of my 2 cents, so be it, if I could.
Go right ahead.
When the architects were doing the building, we talked about the 2 walls that have the long lights on them that we thought would be great for artwork. And I agree with Mr. Cargill that, definitely some history of Liberty Lake would be great in the building. Our thought process was when you walk inside to go to the new Rotary Room, that might be the place that would have, people from all over the city or all over, are coming in to use that facility. And that would be a great place to have all the history or some sort of history of Liberty Lake, whether that was the people that started it or if it was some sort of sports or whatever. I really like the idea. I was at the last meeting also with all the activities were really good. The other wall, which is right inside when you walk into the golf shop, and also if you're walking if you haven't been in the building, if you're walking down the hallway from the flex space, the wall you're staring at when you're walking down the hallway is that wall when you walk into the golf shop. Our thoughts and my thing would be it would be great if that had to do something with golf, because that is kind of the entrance both from the other part of the building and from outside. That goes into golf, whether that's an art piece or pictures of golf, and we don't have a lot of old pictures of golf in Liberty Lake, but maybe something that had to do with golf because you are entering the golf area. But definitely the flex space, at least the one wall going in, or people that will be waiting in the vestibule to go to an event could stand there and look at that. And then I had just another idea, throwing it out there. I don't know how elaborate or how big anybody wants to go, but the hallway is a very long hallway. On one side, we have some digital displays, but on the other side, it's a really long, probably 37-foot long wall. And I saw the kind of mock-ups of where it was like a collage wall of different pictures that the gentleman showed last meeting. And maybe that's a way to get more, of the Liberty Lake, people that started it, or the history of Liberty Lake. If you could fill that entire wall. Just a thought. I just want to put my 2 cents in. I'm sure whatever you guys come up with is going to be fantastic. But if you have any more questions or anything for me, please let me know.
Well, thanks for weighing in, Chris. I really appreciate that you brought up that long hallway, because when Ross Schneidmiller was here and he was talking about, I don't know what the official word is, but like a vinyl wrap that you can put on a wall. And and that way, when you walk down a hall, you don't have to worry about brushing a picture frame. And you could do, well, in the 30-something feet, you could do a heck of a lot of covering of Liberty Lake history, like whether it was chronological and featuring some of the people that you had, and that would still give us an opportunity to do framed art or something on the other wall. So I think that's a great option to consider. And Chris, we appreciate you weighing in. I was sad that there wasn't any old golfing pictures available. There was just the fields where the golf ended up.
Yeah, it was very interesting. The one picture he had, I actually took a snapshot of it where it was just the field of where Trailhead actually started. That was interesting for us to look at that before it was actually Trailhead, which has been here for 50 years now. So
Right. Well, thank you again for attending, and we appreciate your thoughts.
thank you.
Nancy, can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
And the idea that I bring up today may not be an idea for the Trailhead building, maybe an idea for something else. So just food for thoughts. And obviously I appreciate all the work that you guys do on the projects like this. So thank you.
And another thing, Councilman, on that, maybe as Town Square is being developed out, which will be a gathering place for the community, whatever it ends up being. So that's also a possibility. But anyway, we appreciate the idea and the information. And all right, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else on the Trailhead art today? John, did you make any contact with the Photographic Society?
No, I emailed them again and they just haven't responded. I don't know if they're on break or what, but I went to their website and I responded I sent an email to the contact us website, and I don't know why they haven't responded.
Because we have a number of ideas floating around. Just to refresh everyone's memory, rotating student art of some sort, the historical, whether we want to do something with photography from citizens of Liberty Lake that could also be rotating. And it sounds like that, not only do we have the 2 walls, but we have the hallway, which also could be a possibility to fit more of those projects in.
Yeah.
But I think we're gonna need to really think about, especially the entrance to the pro shop, what that's gonna look like, out of being respectful for their business and wanting, to have that somewhat theme. So got a lot to think about. Do we want to just put it on the agenda for next meeting and everybody kind of get their thoughts together? Maybe
I like that idea.
you'll have some more information from the Photographic Society and see what they have to say, and we can figure it out.
Okay.
Because we got to get it going this year. It's on our list. All right,
I have
thanks.
a question for Allison.
Yes.
Allison, I was wondering if any of the students could do like abstract art having to do with golf or sports that possibly could be at the entrance of the golf shop.
Yeah, for sure. I can definitely talk to Mrs. Conister about that. Like, would that be something you want to get going like in a couple of weeks to have next year, or like?
Well, I think we're still gathering information on what we want to do, so maybe if you can talk to them and then report back at the next meeting where they would have an interest in doing that kind of art, because we're not at a decision-making point yet, and understanding that by the time we decide, it may be a fall project for the school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but if you could at least, get an impression of what they thought about that kind of a project.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Allison.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, anything else on the Trailhead project? Okay, let's move to Smarty signs. David?
Sure. Thank you.
And I think we have something in our packet too.
Yes. Just beyond the painted barrels, there is the proof for our double-sided Smarty board. This will be installed in Orchard Park, where I believe we also have some suggested locations. If I'm correct, that's what these other pieces are for.
Yes.
So the first order of business, we need to all come to an agreement that this is the board that we want. I've looked at it quite extensively. I think it's amazing. The more I look at it, the more I like it. And I'm really excited to get this project put to bed and also to bring it to our other parks as well. So if you take a look at that, if you want to just, we can open it for discussion. And then I can let Smarty Signs know to go ahead and produce that. And it should take a couple of weeks to get made and then shipped here. And then the crew can install that. So does anybody have any feedback that they want to give?
I love that we're getting it double-sided. I think
Mhm.
that's gonna be huge. So we'll have to be careful on the location, which I think your team has looked
Yeah.
at, so we can talk about that in a minute, but the colors are great and it's gonna be interesting, and if it's really a hit, then, we can get them at the other parks.
Any feedback or any suggestions? If not, I would just look for someone to move that we go ahead and move forward with this design and give Smarty Signs the okay.
Do we have a motion?
I move that we give Smarty Signs the okay and move forward with the project.
Do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, second by Katie, and thank you, John, for the motion. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Please show that the motion passes unanimously. Jen, do you want to talk a little bit about the location and what your team thought was the best, and were they aware they were double-sided boards when they were looking?
Yes,
Okay.
so I don't think they have a preference of location. They chose 4 options for the commission to look at. That they thought were the best 4 options. I think it's really up to the commission to either make the decision or turn the decision over to the staff. But either way, I kind of like personally the one that's between the splash pad, and I apologize that I can't put this up on the screen. But I like the one between the splash pad and the playground being double-sided. You can see it from both sides. It seems to be most centralized there, but
Right here,
yeah.
that's the one you're looking at.
Oh, I have a different. Yes. No. Up. Yeah, that one.
Okay.
But also between the swings, like what you just pointed out, between the swings and the playground to the south would be a good placement as well. I think there's a tree there.
That's the one with the tree and the little.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I hate to put it in right by a tree
Yeah,
because trees
trees can
grow.
grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like it between the two functions, the splash pad and the playground, because like you said, Jen, coming from either side.
Mhm.
And just trust the team, your team, to figure out the exact
Placement
place.
based on
I'm assuming,
wiring.
will it be, because people can walk in these beds or?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So what's the pleasure of the?
I like
commission?
on that image, the northernmost one.
Between the
Yeah,
splash
the one-
pad and the playground?
Yes, the top of the one closest to the top of the page.
Okay. Is everybody in agreement then? All right, well, you want to let your team know, and then when it comes, it should be ready to install because we get it with the frame, correct?
Yes.
All right. I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. All right, anything else on Smarty signs? All right, let's move on to the Pavilion Historical Outlet Project. Laura, did you have an update for us?
Not really. I put out a couple of requests for ballpark quotations. One with a local artist and then one that's kind of a standard stock type item for a kiosk, just so we can get an idea of what the price range might be, and then we can make a decision based on that information. So my hope is that I will have both of those numbers back before next month's meeting, and then we can decide what direction we want to go and then move forward from there.
Refresh my mind. I know the spot that you were originally thinking was up by the flagpole. There's already a sidewalk that goes there? I can't remember.
There is not. We had talked about, well, there is and there isn't. So up by the ball fields, there's a path. And so we had talked about last year using some of either the beautification funds or maybe some of the idea was that some of the funding would potentially come from the Historical Society. They did have some earmarks. So we need to understand what that number looks like. And then with the beautification dollars, we had talked about creating a sidewalk that would go to the kiosk. So there would be more accessibility for individuals to be able to go and view the signage there.
And then maybe some kind of a concrete pad or something in front of the,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
Where would we go about getting that kind of estimate?
We'd need to know and understand what the design would look like, the path, what route is that gonna follow, and then we would pull a quote from a contractor.
Is that something that your team would look at to see maybe the best placement of where we
Yeah,
would?
because the one thing we'll be worried about is mainline. There's mainline that runs up that hill and sprinkler lines and irrigation. So we'll have to work around that. So definitely we'll have to get crew involved, Laura.
Yeah. Do you have a map of the irrigation plan in the park?
No, not really.
Okay. So, and some of it will also depend on what type of kiosk, because there's some that are more columnar and then some that are, more horizontal. So it really depends on what style we decide we want. So for the next meeting, again, I wanted to at least have a range of what the pricing might look like. And then I can also just throw together a quick slideshow of maybe what some different options might look like, and then we can go from there. Because that'll impact the placement near the flagpole of where you want to put it, and tie that into the irrigation and all of that.
Would it be helpful prior to next month if Jen's team at least took a look about where the sidewalk might come, understanding we don't know what the pad shape is going to be, but just how to get from point A to point B?
I would say it'd be helpful to know any, I guess, major obstructions or things that we need to stay away from.
Okay, we can
Okay.
do that.
Right. Well, thank you for delving into that, and we'll,
Yes, sorry I don't have more of an update, but like I said, I hope to have more information on those options next month.
okay. All right, well, we'll look forward to that report, and we'll put it on the agenda again for next month. Anything else, Laura, on that?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay, moving on to the basketball court skate park, the finishing or neatening up of the mural and the dedication. I did reach out to the Hoop Fest folks, and the two gentlemen, Riley Stockton, who's the executive director there, and then Stephen said that they would love to attend the dedication. And I know we've talked about maybe having some skateboarders there and some basketball kids or something. But Laura, do you have any idea on a timeline about when we could expect that mural neatening up to be done?
We're kind of beholden to the weather. So we need the ground temperature. I'll double check with Danielle what the ground temperature needs to, what range it needs to be within for the paint. And I didn't know, Jen, did you guys have a chance to look at, she had mentioned some cork cracking?
Yes,
Did you
so we followed up with Aero Concrete who did the surface and they said that's normal through the freezing and thawing and expansion and contraction of the court through the heat in the winter. That's normal and there's nothing that you can do for that. They can go in and do some light patching possibly, but it's to be expected. And as long as it doesn't become a trip hazard, it's just part of the pains of moving surfaces.
Okay, they don't have any tolerances of what is covered under warranty, or I get that it's to be expected, but
There's, as far as I was understanding, there was no warranty on something like that. It's part of the nature of a court. And
Okay.
they can't guarantee something like that.
okay.
Well, Laura, if by the next meeting you could have, you got a lot of jobs all of a sudden. By the next meeting, if you could check with the artist and if we know temperature wise, we can kind of make a guesstimate of a range of when she might be able to get in there and then look past that a ways and then maybe start talking about dates so we can get it on folks' calendars. That would be super helpful.
Yep, I can send her a quick note right now.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll look at that item again next time. And then we'll go to the next agenda item, update on the Story Walk books. David, did you have something on that?
Yes. I have it in my email here.
Okay.
Give me just a moment. So we have March books in at both story walks. We have April selected. The spring themes are Wildflower by Melanie Brown and The Hidden Rainbow by Christy Matheson. And from what I understand, they're very colorful. I have the pictures if anybody wants to see them, but I know that the March books have already been installed. So thank you to the Parks crew for getting that done.
Yeah, I walked by the one at Rocky Hill the other day. I'm like, wow, color in the middle of drab winter. I think it was the flower one because that's what caught my eye. So I didn't have a chance to read it yet, but.
And Jandy's been very proactive with coming up with the books. Usually, you know, we would reach out to the library, but the last couple of times she's just said, yeah, I've got the books picked out, come by and get them.
Mhm.
Oh.
Well, she's doing a great job.
Yes.
I see families gathering around those and it's, have we gotten any feedback from the one in Orchard Park since it's been? installed?
I haven't received any.
No news is good news, right? All right. Well, thank you for that update and for working on that. It's great having you as the liaison. All right, moving on to item 6, our action items. The first one is the fireworks events budget discussion. And Jen, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Yeah, so as I was looking into renewing our 3-year agreement with a pyrotechnician to supply us with a firework display on the 4th, it started me thinking, how can or does the commission need or want to be involved in the programming of some of these events from a high level? And what I mean by that is I was looking at the document that we're submitting to council tomorrow night for the 3-year agreement so that we can start planning our show this July. And over the years, we kind of have stuck with the same show, a variation of fireworks, but the same show, the same size show, year to year to year. And each year that cost increases by about $500 to $1,000 due to inflation and fireworks increase costs.
And how many minute show was that?
13.
13.
So I started to think, what if someday somebody wanted a longer show and it was going to cost the city $5,000 more? I've had the pyrotechnician who's on site that night hound me for years that we need a bit bigger show. He could do more, he could do this, but we're limited by budget. And every year, the council approves through the budget process, one line item that totals all of these numbers on this spreadsheet that I shared with you. I think the total this year is 75,000. This is a generic breakout of what the city spends roughly on each of these events. So this one event got me thinking bigger on a grander scale of how we manage our budget for our events. What I wanted to know from the commission is if it ever comes to a point where the commission wanted to make a recommendation to council to increase a budget line item for an event, this would be the perfect opportunity to do that. To say, hey, we want a $20,000 show. Council, we want to recommend a $20,000 show, and here is why. This pyrotechnician is now going the route of drone shows. Well, we do hear pushback from the community that they don't like the fireworks for obvious reasons. So maybe the potential someday is a drone show. I don't know. But I don't want to be the person making those decisions. I think the commission could be the group making those recommendations to our council and having that discussion with them. And I, nobody has brought this to me to say, take this to the commission because we want something bigger or better or different. I'm just trying to be a little bit proactive in the sense of planning these as from a staff perspective, that I'm not in control of the budget. Ultimately, the council is, but the commission has a powerful voice in influencing size, budget, function of each of these events. And I wanted to show sort of the breakout of what is currently being spent. This has not changed much in probably the last 5 years. It's hovered around 75,000 for this one line item that encompasses all of these numbers. Of course, they've fluctuated a little bit. Symphony's grown in expense. Fireworks have grown in expense. Barefoot has grown a little bit, but we've always budgeted 30,000, and in the early years, we might have spent 16 or 17,000 of that. So I haven't had to adjust that much. We're fast approaching that 30,000 budget item for pavilions, Barefoot. So just something to think about, and another level of involvement if the commission so chooses to weigh in on these decisions. And I would like it as a staff member to have those opinions to take to the council if the need arose.
Kind of fascinated by the drone aspect.
I know, I was too.
Do you have any idea how that compares with fireworks?
I don't know, no. But I mean, I could find out. I just hadn't done anything.
But
There's quite a few of them on YouTube, some fairly big ones. That are done at stadiums, major ballpark stadiums. So you just have to
And those are usually to music, so there's not the booming of the fireworks.
So that's all. Are there any questions? I just thought it was good information to share with the commission.
Jen, where are you looking at this $75,000?
It's the total in the expenditure column,
Am I looking at?
If you add, if
I'm
you
looking
add
at the
this
wrong
up.
sheet.
and I might be
Yeah,
off by
there
1,000 or
you
two.
There we go.
but yeah.
Okay.
It might be off by 1,000 or two. It's somewhere in that
Okay.
70 to 75,000. And it's been that way for several years. So,
Did you say that the council was gonna look at a 3-year contract tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't bring the contract. I never have brought the contract to the commission. And I was having a really tough time getting the RFP fulfilled from the company, and I need to get the ball rolling. So,
but if
Yeah.
we had an opinion, like we wanted to recommend going to the drone, we don't have time to put any of that.
not this
together.
year. And I don't know that we would have time anyway to make a major change this late.
Yeah,
That would need.
but
to
I
happen.
mean, would we not have time to change for 3 years?
No, we could, my recommendation would be if there's interest in a discussion on this process, let's get this year status quo going, the 3-year agreement. It can always be adapted and changed. But we're pretty late in the game, usually,
Yeah.
I think that drone show would probably take some planning,
Yeah.
since we've not done it before.
Yeah, and then you have to have it to music but I have a unique, opinion or a unique experience with fireworks after being a retired animal welfare administrator, and the, effects of the noise from the fireworks on not only animals, but veterans as well. And I know that weighed into the fact when Spokane County outlawed personal use of fireworks and went to the planned shows. But as we evolve and we've seen them like in stadium performances and things like that, where and because of wildfire too here, it's all part of the perspective of where are we moving as a society for that, when you have the impact on animals, the impact on veterans, and then because they had to be canceled one year
Mhm.
because of danger of
Heat,
wildfire.
It
Yeah,
was too hot.
too hot. And so I personally would love to get some information as we move forward in upcoming years on the use of drones and have, a drone show to, patriotic music for the 4th of July. I think, maybe we could be the first in the area and be trendsetters. But I'm personally have a vested interest in at least, getting some numbers and looking into that and maybe making a recommendation as we go into next year, knowing that this year, July is screaming up
Yeah,
on us,
yeah.
so. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. What are some other thoughts?
And this might be a document that's something that we can bring up through the budget process as well, for discussion if there is further interest on any of these expenditures, and or events. But something just to kind of chew on, and another piece of information that sheds a light on what we do with events from the staff side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'd love to hear, some kind of information as we
Okay.
move forward on
I can do that.
that personally. Anybody else have a thought or something, they have an interest in anything in that $75,000 budget that? Okay, I'm sure we'll be talking at least more about Barefoot in the Park as we get closer to that event and how we might be, involved as a commission with that.
Jen, I do have a question on that city event rec page there. Is Touch a Truck, is that separate or is that going to be in the Barefoot?
So we our full-on touch truck event this year, July, I want to say it's July 17th. It's a Friday at Orchard Park. So it's the event that we saw 2 years ago,
Okay,
the big one. However, we have, as a Barefoot coordination group, we've all decided that it was so popular last year that we're doing Touch Truck 2.0 at Barefoot.
so we have 2 of them this year.
Scaled down, yeah, it will be a scaled down version at Barefoot, but the full on, now that Jandy's back, in her seat, she will head that up.
So the 17th is a weekday, right? For
Is it a
usually-
Friday?
So Wednesday,
So
the
it must be the
19th.
19th. Yeah,
Okay.
I'd have to check my calendar, but
and that's at Orchard.
yes.
It's just a 1-day event.
Yeah, it's just a few hours. I want to say it's like 9 to 1, I think.
That
9 to 1 or
was,
10 to 1.
that was really, got some good PR. It seems
Huge.
like the kids enjoy.
Yes. Great amount of feedback on that particular event.
Okay, anything else on that item? All right, moving on. Discussion of scheduling a workshop with council, and I think we touched on that a little bit before, that now we're growing up as a commission and we are wanting to make sure we have good dialogue with council. And Jen was telling me that tomorrow there's a workshop with council and the Community Engagement Commission, which I'm hoping to attend to see how their workshop goes. But I thought, like I mentioned last time, it would be nice if we had a workshop with council. So Mark is graciously here as our city administrator to talk about what that might look like.
Sure, thanks, Nancy. And so if you all, and we had a portion of this conversation at the last meeting. And so to follow up on that, if you all remember, if you've been to city council meetings, on the agenda, item number 17 is reserved for the introduction of upcoming agenda items. And so typically what council does is they look over the list of things that have been scheduled for discussion in the upcoming months. And so if you look at that right now, the list that will be discussed tomorrow night has the joint workshop with the Parks and Arts Commission taking place. And it's just listed as to be determined in June. And so that is a fine placement as far as I'm concerned, but really it's up to the commission as to whether you want to have the discussion in June, whether you want to accelerate it into May or have another date. But if you think about really the purpose of the joint workshop, in my mind, part of it has to be having a discussion with council in the context of the upcoming budget development. And so you want to be somewhat close to the kickoff of that, so the conversation doesn't get so diluted by time that everybody forgets what was discussed. But you also don't want to be too deep into the process that you lose the opportunity because you've passed some decision points or something like that. So I would recommend May, June is a fine time, and really anywhere in that window would be fine. If we look at the schedule, there is an opening, and you need to have it at 6 o'clock. This is an hour's conversation. It's not, 20 minutes or a half an hour. You need the entire hour so you can have the productive dialogue that you need to have as a joint workshop. But there is a 6 o'clock slot open on the second meeting in May, which is, I believe, the 21st. And then, like I said, both of the June slots are open. So really, it's just a matter of when you want to lock that time in so that you've got it on your calendar, and we can make sure that it's on the council's calendar.
I know we were talking before the meeting about the budget schedule. Would we need to have because we meet the first Monday of the month, so would we need to finalize our budget at our July or at our August meeting?
So the way that we've not finalized the budget schedule for the 2025 budget development, but either of those two, I would think that you would not want to finalize your budget until at least the August meeting. I mean, putting it in July as a final would be awfully soon.
Yeah.
And so I would recommend the August. And that would give you, if you did have this discussion on the first June council meeting, or I'm sorry, the second May council meeting, that would give you 2 commission meetings to follow that up and have budget discussions.
And so that was May 21st at 6.
I believe, yes, the 21st is the second May meeting.
Well, I think it's great that we start this process because there's really been not a meshing of council and commission in the past. So, we've given a report and, we've gotten some feedback from some of those, but this is a great way to engage them and talk to them a little bit more, especially like you say about upcoming budget and what items we're focusing on for next year and why. So I love the idea. What does everybody else think about the possible May 21st at 6 p.m.? It is a public meeting, but it's usually a fairly intimate session with council.
Yes. And, you may have people who are interested in parks and arts that attend, and to a certain extent, you want those ears listening to the conversation, but usually the 6 o'clock sessions are not as well attended as the regular council meeting. So.
And there's no public comment during our workshop. Is that correct?
Correct.
What's your thoughts? Any questions that Mark might be able to answer about the process? Laura, any thoughts?
Not specific thoughts. I'm excited about the opportunity to do it. I am curious, I guess, to see how the community engagement one works and just get your feedback on how we want to structure it, to Mark's point, just to make sure that it's value added for both parties and that we're ready and prepared for a good discussion.
Right. And I know I'm going to try to do the community engagement tomorrow, and anyone here that wants to, I think, Jen, you can send us out the Zoom link and you can attend in person here. It's at 6 o'clock tomorrow. And their agenda is already posted, so we can look at that, see how there goes. And that will give us our April and May meeting to fine tune what we think the agenda should be, and then we submit a proposed agenda to you.
We would, I would suggest that however you want to work it from a commission standpoint, that the commission and Jen just work together, and whatever your final agenda is, we just get it to the clerk and
Okay.
it's posted as part of the agenda packet.
We always welcome your feedback, though.
I'll be happy to provide
You're the
feedback.
trained professional.
I'll be happy. to
Are
provide-
those recorded as well, so
Yes.
available to
Yes.
watch
Yes,
the
they
next
are.
day or
Yep.
usually?
Usually within what, Michael, a couple days for council meetings?
Generally about a Friday,
No.
The recording.
The day after, okay. Yeah. And if once we schedule that meeting with the city council, that, I'll publish that as an actual meeting, Parks and Arts meeting, so that if we have more than a quorum there, we're fine. So tomorrow night isn't necessary because you're just viewing from Zoom and there's no interaction between commissioners.
So we can attend and.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. I
Yeah,
didn't-
and that's an important distinction, because when you get to your meeting on the 21st, it's a joint workshop. So it's
Yeah.
both bodies
Yeah.
formally meeting in a public meeting. So
Yeah.
Right.
So publish it and just like we do everything, all the process will look just like our meetings today.
Okay. So you'll let us know when that date's finalized and we'll pencil it in for now, or it's a go?
pencil it in for now. Tomorrow, when we go over this matrix, we call it the matrix, we will finalize that, and council, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't finalize it, but I would pencil it in for now. When it's decided on tomorrow formally, we'll pin it in.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks. Anything else? Any other thoughts, commissioners, on that?
I just had a quick question, Nancy. Because it's a public meeting between the two groups, is there a requirement for how far in advance the agenda needs to be set? And if so, would we then maybe want to consider the first of the two June meetings?
Yeah, so Laura, to answer your question, for the May 21st meeting, we will publish the agenda on Friday, the 17th. And,
Oh,
and so, as long as the agenda is finalized prior to that, you're good to go.
Are you good with you? Are you still okay with the May date, Laura?
I'm good with that. I didn't know if there was I guess I was thinking city council meetings where there's a 2-week agenda and packet requirement.
No, for this kind of thing, knowing that it's being worked on, we can make that accommodation. Typically, we're talking about action items where you're voting on something, especially a purchase or a contract. We want a little bit more notice, but on something like this, we can fine tune it up to the publication date and have no real worries.
Well, our June meeting is June 3, and I'm assuming we would finish up the agenda by then. So, oh, not June. I'm sorry, we're in May. May 6th.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would have at that point, assuming you came to final decisions on the 6th, you would have 2 full weeks to collaborate with Jen to get the final wording, and then whomever's going to review it,
Okay.
and provide feedback.
All right. All right. Well, we'll stick with the May meeting, and then that'll give us 2 solid meetings to work on the budget and then finalize it at the August meeting. So, okay. Anything else on that item? All right, moving on to our 2024 CFP project update. We're just trying, and the DOT release. If you look in your packet, because we're just trying not to let that slip away from us. On the Public Art 2023-2026, we're focusing still on 2024 and making sure we're checking all our boxes. What did you find out about the Kramer Parkway and the DOT?
So I think Lisa said that those are able to be landscaped this year. But these signal boxes will not be released until the bridge is released, which she anticipates to be 2025.
And then what about the triangle property on the south side?
It's in the same category as the roundabout on the north side of the bridge.
Okay. And just for clarification, the roundabout, is there already a budget for landscaping?
I don't know. I have to find out.
Is
I don't
that,
know. I
I
actually
guess
don't
I'm
know.
trying to figure out if that's our responsibility.
It is our responsibility.
It is ours.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I want to say it's 100,000. I vaguely remember.
Oh,
Lisa
so it
saying-
doesn't have to come out of our our.
No, no.
Oh,
mm-mm.
our
No,
collectively.
it has its own budget. Yes, it has its own budget.
Okay, it has its own budget. So we're not, are we any decision makers on the landscaping, or that's just?
The whole, on both projects, they will all come through you. So
Okay.
as soon as I know how we're moving forward and what that's gonna look like, that will be my update for you all, because I believe I'm heading those projects up with my staff. And that's new and different for us, so we're figuring these projects out.
So when we talk about, just for clarification, on the roundabout part, when you look at our roundabouts in the area, some of them are high landscaping and some of them are
Mhm.
low. And I know that roundabouts they're getting more experience with them, but is there stuff we need to know for safety purposes on?
There will be,
There
yeah,
will be.
yeah, I'm sure there will be.
Okay.
Like I said, once we start from the very beginning, we haven't touched it yet. Once we start on both of those projects, I will be giving you updates
Okay.
as we go through it. So you're exactly up to speed with me. And what I can do is provide updates in between, since these meetings are only monthly. A lot will be happening in between that. So as things come up, I'll just shoot email updates out to the
Mhm.
commission on things we're moving on.
So when we look at our budget, we won't be spending, well, unless it gets released late this year, we won't
Yeah.
be doing the wraps, and that's 4,000, but we have the 32,500 for the Kramer Parkway, which we could do some kind of art in conjunction with the roundabout landscaping on the approaches, or we have the triangle.
So I need to check on the approaches because I don't know if those are tied to the bridge.
Okay, so what we know,
It's my understanding that they are, even though they're our property, but let me confirm with Lisa that the approaches of the bridge itself are released either now or released in that 2025 as part of the bridge.
okay, so what we know for sure now is the roundabout and the triangle.
Correct. And the roundabout has a block of funding set aside for it. Your budgeted dollar amount of the art would be its own. So when we design it, we could essentially design something all in together,
Mhm.
which instead of Parks and Arts Commission coming in after the fact, there could be potential to design this.
Like if
whole
you
thing
want some
together.
kind of sculpture
Yeah.
or sign or something like
Yeah.
that, it could be incorporated.
Right,
into that.
right.
And before we get into discussion, one more point for clarification. On the triangle, I think I remember Lisa saying that, because thought about a pocket park, but there's concern
Mhm.
because how busy
Mhm.
Country Vista is.
She didn't recommend it because we don't want to encourage people congregating there because it's such a busy intersection and Country Vista is such a large road. But to have a small green space there that's an entry of some sort, or just a nice green space that people drive by, for lack of better.
Right.
You
or-
put a sculpture there,
yeah,
a art
some-
piece, who knows? Yeah, who knows what?
Okay, so if we are focusing maybe today on starting discussion to me on the triangle, because we don't have enough information on the roundabout yet. On what that's gonna look like, and as we get into that, does everyone know what we're talking about as far as the triangle, where that is?
We have a slide that we could throw up.
We can't do slides.
I can't access.
So
the internet.
Country Vista, where the new Kramer Parkway goes across and the light is there. On the south east corner, which is, I would call it the apartment corner, there is a triangle of property there that's kind of between the street and the property of the apartment complex. And that is the piece of property we're talking about, and it's not as big as this room. It's
No.
half the size of this
It's
room.
small.
Yeah.
It's small.
And it's shaped like a triangle.
And right now it's just weeds and empty Yeah, so you wouldn't probably even notice it driving by.
Is it on that map?
It's, yeah, it would be really good.
Well, I can snap a photo of it, tomorrow and
So
email it
it's
out.
half the size of this room?
If that. It's fairly small. I mean, it's big enough to do something on. But it's small. I mean, we
Is
don't
it the property right next to the, is it the apartment, like leasing center or clubhouse?
I think it backs up to the parking lot and then the clubhouse is, visible from there.
Yeah.
Right. I know a lot of people enter the city through Appleway, but the city limits actually starts the other side of the high school. So is it too far into the city to have a welcome sign? And maybe we want to have some kind of an art sculpture-y thing with some landscaping around it, or? Oh,
I think we have in our budget this year, the next Liberty Lake Together installment. We had talked about potentially combining that with roundabout landscaping, but this is an area that we could consider that for as well if we wanted to.
I like the idea of a city marker with our local service clubs on it. You see in the past a lot in some towns. I think that would be a great place for it. You could have Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions Club. What else, whatever else on there.
this is the new.
And a small monument sign would not be a major project, but it could dress up that corner, which right now is obviously not getting used. Is that still a thing? Signs entering the city with the service clubs on them? I mean, you see it a lot in Spokane, or in Washington as it is traveling from city to city. Some of the, most of them are older, but I think it'd be a great place for a city marker. We initially thought when we first had our Parks and Arts Commission's meetings, the first few, we thought about doing something coming down Liberty Lake Drive, but now you have the parkways there in the middle of the street. I don't know if the appropriate place to put a signage there, but I think Laura, you might remember that from beginning. We talked about doing some kind of signage in the city.
Vaguely.
So I think maybe this Appleway location or Country Vista location might be a good opportunity to put that. Welcome to Liberty Lake, and then we could have it such that if there's a new service club or one doesn't exist anymore, they could be a placard could be attached to each one. So, you have the Rotary, you have the Lions Club, you have the Kiwanis placard on that, and you can add more or take one down and put something new up.
I've seen those, but when you're driving by, you don't really, they're too small.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, not if it's in the middle of the street.
in the middle of the street?
No, no, if you say it's too small, what do you mean?
Well, if you have Welcome to Liberty Lake and then you have like Rotary and, are you really gonna notice whatever those?
I noticed the other ones.
Well, I guess. you
I think Town Square might be a good place for something like that, where people are more strolling through versus driving by, if you're trying to highlight and recognize the service clubs.
What about some kind of, I know on the Rocky Hill Sculpture Project, that was a Liberty Lake Together kind of theme, and it went out for the call to
That'd be a good
artists.
place as well.
And this is a Liberty Lake Together art budget item in our budget. So what if we looked at some kind of a sculpture, which is large enough when you're zooming by it, no more than 35 miles an hour, that you would, you would be able to see it and maybe have the appropriate, some green space, some bushes or a tree or
That's a good idea too.
Laura, what do you think about a call for artists for a Liberty Lake Together art for part of the budget and then saving part of the budget out for some landscaping that went with it? Or I remember you talking about some boulder stuff that it might be interesting to do something like that in the landscaping.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe I was muted. I just mentioned that we have the budget and we talked about either the roundabout coming off of Kramer over by Selkirk. But if we don't have access to that until 25, I think this is a good location. I would recommend if we want to revisit the boulder art, that it's something that is in a park or something that can be utilized, because I think part of the attractiveness of that is it's something that kids can climb on and enjoy, where it's more interactive art. And if this is an area that we're not necessarily encouraging people to stop and congregate, I would maybe revisit the boulder for a different location.
I know, Laura, you're more familiar with the cost of the artists on the call to artists from the Rocky Hill project, which is far enough, it's probably cost more now, but what if we took that budget of the 32,500, split it in half and did a Liberty Lake Together art piece on the triangle and a Liberty Lake art piece on the roundabout that would be complementary or join in with the landscaping?
I don't know that we have enough money for that. I do know that we paid roughly 10,000 plus taxes for the one in Rocky Hill, and the discussions and feedback afterward were the artist lost money on that project. So I think of something of that size and magnitude, you're a few years out from that. So I think it's going to cost more for the same. And so if you wanted something a little larger, I think we're probably looking more in the neighborhood of 20 would be my guess, depending on what it is that we're after. But knowing that the 10 was not sufficient for what went in at Rocky Hill, I would say we would want to increase.
Well, we could increase the budget and then what was left, we could do something with the roundabout.
Well, yeah, and keep in mind, when we went through the mural process, there were expenses that came up during the process that were more, and same with the Smarty signs. Expenses do come along that are unpredicted and unexpected. So it's nice to have a buffer of a small contingency just to account for unexpected expenses, especially if it's a $20,000 project.
I mean, if we have 30, I don't have a good handle on the landscaping cost, Jen, but when you said the roundabout's 100,000, I mean, you could allocate that full 32 to that one property, get the sculpture in, and then do the landscaping as part of that. If you guys don't already have landscaping budgeted for that spot.
Yeah, and then too, I mean, I am going to ask a realistic question. What's the potential for actually accomplishing both art pieces plus our other projects this year? Is that?
I think highly unlikely. If you're trying to attack 2 complementary sculptures plus the other stuff, I think given that we're already in March, it would be challenging.
Well, if we focus on the triangle, because it's an unsightly space now, and we know we're gonna have landscaping for the roundabout. So if we focus on the triangle, which that's one of the major entry points, wouldn't it be, to the city? And traffic wise, and there's a light there, so it'll be highly visible. What if we just took that Liberty Lake Together budget and focused it, like, Laura was saying, entirely on that triangle with a piece of art, sculpture type art, with the Liberty Lake Together theme, and then with the remaining money, then we could enhance, the rest of the triangle area around it with appropriate landscaping or of some sort.
Or maybe something else to consider would maybe a fountain, like something.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the Post Falls, not to that magnitude, but when you come down the off ramp of
yeah.
Spokane Street. It's sort of in a nowhere spot.
What
but
about
City Hall-
power and water?
Well, I'd have, yeah, we have power. It's gonna be landscaped.
So we'd have water and
Mhm.
power. Well, that's I mean, yeah, it could
Yeah,
be a
I
water
think that
feature.
would look good.
Mhm.
Laura, if we
What-
wanted to do that, what kind of directive do we have to give in a call to artists? What do we need to know and decide?
So the main things that we need to decide are what we want our budget to be. With the Liberty Lake Together call that we did before, we intentionally left it very open because we wanted to get a wide range of interpretations. So we used the logo that we had for the Liberty Lake Together and asked the artist to draw inspiration from that. We told them where we what space we wanted to have it in. So at that point, we didn't even have a specific park. We just said that it would be going into one of the city parks. So given that we have the dimensions and exact location, I think that that's helpful and that they would be able to appropriately scale it. But one of the things we specifically and very intentionally did was to leave it open. So there was, you know, a lot of leeway in the creative process for the artist. So we can certainly put a tighter parameter or specifications in if we wanted, but I think leaving it open to their interpretation yielded the best results.
What number would you suggest putting to attach to the call to artists, understanding we're gonna need at least some money to do something with the rest of the space landscaping wise?
I mean, I'm happy to reach out to a landscaper or Jen if you have an idea. It'd be nice to know what that landscaping piece might be. I would recommend 20 for the call. I will say that the artist community that I've interacted with are very upfront with whether or not they feel that that's a fair price for what we're asking for. So I could even put a couple feelers out to some of the artists we've developed relationships with just to get a gauge on what they think is a fair compensation for that type of project.
Mhm. I mean, my goal is that I would really want to keep this moving, and I think we're to the point in the year, being it's March, that we need to start making some decisions and going forward because it is a process. And I
I
think
mean, we can put it out at 20 and see what we get back. I'm just trying to think of like, what does it cost to, you know, that area is not huge, just what does it cost to landscape a backyard? You know, as a comparison, I guess. But Jen, is all the irrigation, everything's already there? It would just be the plantings, or is
No.
it?
No, Derek just confirmed that there isn't water or power there yet, but obviously if we're gonna landscape it, we have to do something.
well, it could be dryscape too.
Would that be out of our budget or would that be out of the?
No, let me confirm, but I don't know the full plan. I need to get with Lisa, but I think the landscape side of it, a basic landscape would be budgeted through the city's operating budget. Anything extra that is done with the Parks and Arts Commission side of it would be done by Parks and Arts Commission.
Okay, so the water and power would be operations cost, or would that be
Yes.
something? Okay.
Okay, so given that, that changes things. Would you want to go instead of 20, would you want to go 25, or you're comfortable throwing it out there at 20 if that's what the commission ends up wanting to do?
I feel like I'm still comfortable with 20 because, I mean, unfortunately, if you go to 25, you only have 7,000 left for landscaping and any unplanned costs. And that, I don't feel like that's enough wiggle room,
Okay.
in my opinion, but.
So like I say, commissioners, when we're looking at the budget, we have the 32,500 for their Liberty Lake Together Art. And we had already identified in last year's budget process that we wanted to do it at the Kramer Parkway project. So that limits our choices. What further discussion do you have? Do you know what you think you want to do, or what are you thinking? Does everybody like putting out a call to artists with the 20,000 for the development of the triangle piece? And, you know, we'll get stuff back and then we,
I'm up for that.
yeah, we pick something. If we don't like it, then I guess we don't pick it.
And let me get the exact specifics of each of those locations for the next meeting. On the city side.
And Laura, you need those for the call to artist?
I mean, I can tell them the location we're looking at and go from there. Do you want the call to go out before the next meeting, or you want me to have a draft complete and ready for approval before the next meeting?
All right, why don't you create a draft and that'll give Jen a chance to get the information and maybe something you can attach to the call to artist, and then we can approve going forward from that information. I don't want to delay it any longer than that because I hate to say it, but we're running out of year. Going on a project.
Unfortunately, I know.
So, all right, well, if you can start working on that, and maybe even you could put some feelers out and make sure that you're comfortable with the 20, so that's a realistic number that we're looking at.
Laura, if you need any help with that, just reach out to me, please.
Will do.
So we have that decided. We can't do the utility box wraps. The Outlook, Laura, you're busy all of a sudden because we have that in our budget, but you've got that going. And if any of us can help you with that, then let us know.
What was that last one, Nancy?
The Pavilion Park Historical Outlet is on this year's budget, and that's the 20,000. So
Yeah, I'm waiting on those numbers. I sent it out after the last month's meeting and just haven't gotten anything back. So once we have a range, then yes, I will probably solicit assistance on that.
And and we have 5,000 in beautification, which some of that will probably go to the override on the Smarty boards of 300. And
Are we
so,
applying any of that to the barrels as well?
yeah, probably because we'll need paint and the sealer. So that, I mean, I don't think we need to make any decisions on how to spend the beautification because it's kind of like for the little small things as we go through. So the big ones are the Kramer Parkway Call to Artist project, and then the historical outlet and the trailhead, which we're working on, and hopefully we'll have enough information where we can determine a direction and then start down that road. That's 10,000, and hopefully we can do whatever we want for that amount of money. Any other thoughts? Is anybody have any concerns or questions, particularly about, you know, focusing on the triangle? It just seems like something that we can get done. Well, Laura, thank you so much for delving into that call to artists, because you're our resident expert on that, and apparently our resident expert on historical outlets, and I don't know what else. And we appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. I honestly think the call to artists from the last one will just need a couple minor tweaks and we'll be able to roll with it.
Oh, perfect. That's great.
So that
And
should
you
be
know,
easy.
any of us are happy to help you if you need the help.
Appreciate that.
So where are we on the agenda? Next thing we're gonna do is Jen, your staff, do you have to leave? Okay, just before you leave, can we just talk about the next meeting is April 1st, which I understand is spring break meeting, spring break week. Do you want to switch the meeting to the 8th of April, which is the second Monday?
Yes. We did that last year as well.
Yeah. Is everyone good with that?
Mhm.
Okay, do we have a motion to change the April 1 meeting to April 8?
I'll motion to
So moved.
move the April 1 meeting.
Okay, Laura moved, David second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, our next meeting will be the 8th of April, if you can mark your calendars. And now we'll go to Jen's staff report.
All right, so I would like to introduce our new Park and Rec Coordinator, Mikkel. He comes to us from Rathdrum and the gym. Yeah, oh, you want to tell him a little bit about what you did with Rathdrum?
Yeah, so
Why don't you step up to the microphone? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your vision and what you did before. Welcome.
Thank you. I was with the city of Rathdrum. I managed their recreation department for about 8 years. And then most recently, I was with Spokane Gymnastics as their general manager for a time. And so I'm super excited to be here. I bring, like I said, about 8 years of experience in municipality recreation and then some experience with tribal recreation as well. And so I look forward to seeing where I can help and add my expertise and go from there.
Thank you.
We're thrilled you're here.
Thank you.
We'll try not to be too pesky.
All right, the rest of this is pretty standard. I've listed all of the confirmed upcoming events, notating that the Pavilion Annual Easter Hunt has been canceled for this year. There will be one, however, at Orchard from the Girl Scout troop.
the Girl Scout.
Yeah. Project updates, we are going to be busy this year. So between all the projects we've all just discussed, we also have the Harvard Trailhead entrance renovation that is being planned by Greenstone. And then sports court resurfacing of both Rocky and Pavilion. And then Pavilion is hopefully getting a new roof this year. And they're going to repaint the restroom facility at Rocky Hill Park inside and out. Pickleball, Skyhawks, Challengers are all in the works. Satori, I think, is in the works. Yoga, I have not heard from them. And then let's see, what's the last thing I had? Oh, just a question, reminder, if you are willing to provide the Parks and Arts update at the March 19th meeting, that would be wonderful. Let Nancy or I know. I don't know if you want to say anything more.
Yeah, that's just a short, 5-minute report on generally what happened at this meeting. At council's 7 o'clock meeting, they put us on the agenda. We go right after Mark's report, and it's kind of a fun way if we rotate that a little bit for council to get to know all of you commissioners. So if anyone has an interest on kind of giving a report of this meeting at March 19th, let Jen or I know, and you can do it via Zoom or in person.
And a reminder, we've received one group of suggestions from one of the commissioners on the renaming of the 4th of July community event that is going to be happening. And a reminder also that in the next meeting or two, we should probably look at doing a updated group photo and then photos of each individual new member for the ID badges. So
Yeah, because we want the ID badges before
we
barefoot.
barefoot, yeah. And that's all I have. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Oh, do you have a second to go over that trailhead?
Yeah, it's in the very beginning stages. Did I attach
It's the
it?
last page of your packet,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think.
I thought I attached it. So this is the concept that was presented to the city from Greenstone. They're looking at adding parking spaces, redoing the pavement there, taking out the vault toilet that is currently there, adding a actual CXT restroom building, which will be similar to the one we have at Rocky Hill Park that is plumbed, and then just kind of freshening up a little bit of landscape, but it will be very minimal for low maintenance. And then a path behind the CXT up on the north side, leading to the trail with the future potential of a small park to the west of this whole facility. And there will be that concrete path that says 10-foot will tie into that future park that they will be building there. So they're gonna make it look very nice.
It's very awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. When are they supposed to do that?
It's probably going to be late summer, early fall. They have to coordinate with the Centennial Trail overlay that will be happening. And the Centennial Trail Coordinating Council doesn't have a timeline yet of when that overlay will be happening because the contractors need to stage at the trailhead. And we don't want them staging at that trailhead with their equipment if it's brand new pavement on Greenstone's behalf. So they need to coordinate and time everything so that they can get in Centennial Trail, get the work done, and then Greenstone will come in and do their work. Okay. All right. All right, well, thank you for your report. So everyone, remember, we changed the meeting date to April 8th for the next meeting. If you can go and present at council on the 19th or whatever day it was, let us know. And then we should mark our calendars tentatively, and you'll let us know when you confirm with Mark that we're on the May 21. Yep. Workshop. Yep. Okay. Anything else for the greater good? All right. Anyone online? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? I forgot we need a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
We have move and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, folks, for coming.
Thank you.
Bob never showed on.